大家回到我们的论坛 ，Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back。我们接下来要进入今天的最后一场的座谈，主题是多方利害关系人模式是否有效。We now come to our final session of today, titled "Does the Multistakeholder Model Work?" 这个场次呢，我们会带大家来讨论多方利害关系人模式在网际网络治理当中的实际运作，以及如何扩大参与，纳入更多元的声音，以强化政策讨论的品质还有影响力。In this session, we will explore how the multi-stakeholder model works in practice and how broader participation can strengthen policy making and governance outcomes. 这个场次的主持人是台湾网络资讯中心的丁启平副执行长。The moderator for this session is Ms. Joy Chan, Deputy CEO of TWNIC. 接下来就把时间交给主持人丁副执行长。I will now hand the floor to the moderator, Ms. Joy Chan.
Thank you very much. And first, I'd like to welcome ladies and gentlemen to stay on this session. This is, last but not least, a very important session. And as we are coming to this session, I want to say that we actually have come a long way for today and as well as for many years. A few years ago that we started doing this ICANN APAC-TWNIC Engagement Forum. And we covered many different topics. There are technical topics. There are also governance topics, if I use the hot word, okay? And for many of the things that we have been talking about, just like you have been sitting through the day, you heard many different things. But the topic that I'm going to be covering is one of the very major and important topic on the multi-stakeholderism. I think it brings the very high spirits of where ICANN is coming from. So, the session, the sub-session that we are having is not just like whether multi-stakeholderism works. I am titling this to say that this is a scaling the multi-stakeholderism model to addressing the cross-layer challenges in the AI governance. We all heard about the multi-stakeholderism in different ways or in different degrees. But today, when we have been hearing from the speakers in the morning with the opening remarks on the AI, that's been a very big word across the industry in the different domains and in many different things that we are talking about the AI. We look at the multi-stakeholderism and we say that it's important. And when we are having all this AI governance, how does it really work together with that? I think that currently AI is just everywhere. But one of the very important things is about the governance, whether that's from the technical or on the application level, that the AI governance is definitely important. When we look at the multi-stakeholderism that ICANN has been evangelized for many years, and we see that it works in many different ways, in different organizations, in different mechanisms today. So we're going to be looking at this and also looking not just multi-stakeholderism and how it works. It's really that when we apply on the AI, how are things going to be changing? What are some of the coverage and things like that? So without further ado, I'm going to introduce my very first speaker, Simari. You probably have seen him today up and down the stage a few times. He's the VP for the stakeholder engagement, also the managing director for the APAC region from ICANN. So I'm going to let him maybe to give us a very brief talk about this. And also allow me to share with you the way that we're going to be working is that for the first round, I'm going to have all my panelists to give a holistic view points on the multi-stakeholderism and on the AI governance. And then we start the questions to address to my panelists. So here you go. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Joy, and welcome everyone who's managed to stay back and join us in this last panel. I'm going to go back to a comment that Jerong made earlier, actually, during his opening speech, and he said that, one of the reasons we are here is also to meet our community members and fellow stakeholders. And that's exactly what the multi-stakeholder model is. It's essentially the internet belongs to everyone. And therefore, at least in the internet governance space, everybody gets a chance to weigh in as to how the internet is governed. And that, in its essence, is the multi-stakeholder model. Now, in the technical community, we've got different, entities or organizations, and I'm going to speak a little bit more about what ICANN does. So, with ICANN, because we've been coordinating the DNS for the last 30 years, and the main purpose of this coordination is to also ensure that the internet remains stable, secure, and interoperable, and globally unified while, connecting everybody. So for nearly 30 years, we've united governments, industry, civil society, academia, and the technical community to develop policies that support the internet's technical foundation. And I'm going to refer to what Edmund said in his closing remarks when he said that it's not the most perfect model, but it's the model we've got, and it works, and it's worked. I would argue, but the real challenge is that from time to time we face challenges to this model, and we just need to keep ensuring that we are looking at those challenges and therefore addressing them in the best way possible. So the model is grounded on coordination and not on control, and therefore whether ICANN is coordinating with RIRs or RIRs are coordinating with national resources, whether we are coordinating with the naming side of the business, it's all about coordination. Where we feel constrained or where we feel the pressure is when the technical community is not involved or is not invited to conversations that may impact a large number of people. Thankfully, over the last decade or so, we've seen a maturity of how governments and intergovernmental agencies also look at internet resources and the multi-stakeholder model, which kind of sits parallel to a multilateral ecosystem that they operate in. And therefore, we've been actually working more closely in this setup. Now, I'm going to jump straight to your interest in AI and therefore, what and how ICANN looks at the impact of artificial intelligence. So AI, including large language models, does not change ICANN's core mission or fundamental architecture of the DNS. ICANN continues to focus on ensuring stable, secure, and unified global internet through coordination of unique identifiers. So that does not change at all. But we need to understand what is the context and how it impacts the DNS. So AI is the latest in a series of highly visible technology trends that generate both interest and hype. It is important to separate meaningful impact from general enthusiasm. So let me even step back and say that every few years we've seen a new technology and emerge in our space, and many of these impact how the DNS operates. But the fact is, it is not taking away from what the DNS does. So we need to keep that in mind. Now, the DNS remains a foundational internet infrastructure. It does not generate content, and the AI systems depend on the DNS just like any other internet applications. However, the scale and nature of the reliance on AI system is evolving. And what is happening, what we're seeing is, AI systems are generating more DNS queries. And the nature of how those queries are generated are different from when humans generate queries. So there's higher volume, there's different frequencies, and there are distinct distribution patterns. Now, the DNS is designed to accommodate the growth in internet traffic and the exponential rise in AI-driven queries. With the exponential rise in AI-driven queries, it will be important to maintain continuous monitoring of the DNS performance. And lastly, I'll say that AI can be, used can scale and accelerate malicious activity, including phishing, impersonation, and social engineering campaigns. And also, AI can enable large-scale domain registration for abuse, potentially making detection more difficult. This represents a meaningful shift in the threat landscape. Now, I'm going to stop here because this kind of sets the tone, I would hope, of the rest of the conversation.
Wonderful. So, Marian, thank you very much for your representation of ICANN on the stakeholder modernism. I think that it says a lot, and re-quote from admin that, of course, yes, we understand that this is not a perfect system. Probably there isn't a perfect system, but it's working, and it's going to continue working. And I like what Mary mentioned, that the stakeholders that getting mature and mature, say they know that how to utilize the system to work to not only to their best interest, but to everybody's best interest. As the world has evolving, as the internet world also evolving so much, that I'm going to invite my next panelist who's going to participate from remote. It's Charles Moak. He's a very popular speaker and also a writer for many, the author for many articles. And he is actually from, he is a research scholar, a global digital policy incubator from Stanford University. So I'm gonna ask Charles, please let us know your thoughts on this. And thank you very much for participating when you are supposed to be sleeping at night, right? Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Joy. Yes, I wish I can be in Taiwan with all of you today. This is the last session for you today, and this is also the last business for me today as well, because it's just about 1 a.m. In the morning for me. I'm actually in Los Angeles, and the reason I cannot be in Taipei with you this week is because this also happens to be the week that the NOMCOM, the nominating committee of ICANN, is having our meeting in Los Angeles this week. So we're going to be starting our meeting in the morning tomorrow. So that's why I cannot be in Taipei. Unfortunately, I wish I can be with you. But going back to the topic of the discussion today, multi-stakeholderism, and how it applies to the internet, and what we are going to be able to consider multi-stakeholderism as a option for AI governance and so on. These are all very interesting and relevant topic for today. And I would first start looking at the problem, this question by looking at two words. First of all, multi-stakeholder approach and multi-stakeholderism. And I think Samaran gave a very good, rundown of what it means, particularly in the ICANN context, where we are talking about the governance or the regulations that apply to a certain range of resources, critical resources, and unique resources such as names and numbers, right? So I can go straight into the second word that I think a lot of times give us a lot of problems, a lot of troubles. which is governance. What is meant by governance, right? Because we talk about internet governance, we talk about AI governance, but sometimes I think it means different things to different people. Because in the context, let's say, of AI, internet governance in the context of ICANN, again, we are talking about how we're going to be setting the rules and the rules of engagement, particularly for many of these unique resources, the names, the domain names, the IP address and the numbering system, and so on. But to most people, but to other people, to the general public, and even actually also often to policymakers, to government, people in the government, and so on, the word governance may mean a lot more. They may be thinking about regulations. They may be thinking about laws. They may be thinking about international laws that may apply to the internet or even when we're talking about AI. So the context may be different, first of all. But let me go back to internet governance and particularly the multi-stakeholder approach that has been undertaken by particularly including ICANN. I think it has been. We can be quite confident to say that it has been quite successful for the last 20 to 30 years, right? It is definitely the most democratic system of all that can be available because it gives everybody a voice. And considering the tremendous growth of the internet in the last 20 to 30 years, including the way that the infrastructure has been governed quite successfully in the last 20 to 30 years, I think we can safely say that things have been, it has been quite successful. But needless to say, today we see a lot of problems that are arising on the internet, right? The ill effect of social media, cyber scam, misinformation, surveillance, and so on. So people are becoming more concerned, and they begin to say, what are we going to do about it? To them, they feel like the internet is a free for all. It's not well governed. It's not well governed to them. So that is, I think, why a lot of times I believe that multi-stakeholderism is probably misunderstood, and then it is also under threat today because there are many countries in the world that are saying that we need something better. The internet is out of control. Some people blame the big tech companies, the technology platforms. Some people blame others, but the people in general are beginning to feel that there are problems that we need to confront on the internet. So other people are jumping in, right? So other forums, such as including, let's say, the United Nations, they come up with more ways to try to enable law enforcement to get into, I wouldn't say govern the internet, but at least to regulate in such a way that they believe it would make them easier to confront cybercrime, for instance, and so on. So countries are also, there are also other countries that are taking advantage of this situation to try to call for other forms of regulations. For example, multilateral approach, the multilateral approach to regulate the internet. And they might even want to say that this is a better way than multi-stakeholderism because rather than a bottom-up approach of the multi-stakeholder approach, which enable everybody to have a voice, some countries may believe that it is more efficient and more easily for them it would be more easier for them to assert control from a top-down approach by just having countries talking to each other, governments talking to each other. And there would be this proposal, actually very direct proposal to say that they want to impose multilateral governance on the internet, and needless to say, also on AI as well. And this is, I think, the serious threat that multi-stakeholderism that we have to face today, and we have to be very vigilant about what we have built in the last 20 to 30 years. We have to look back at multi-stakeholderism to understand, to see what it is and what it isn't, and what had been working for the internet and what might work in future for AI. And I'm sure we will come back to that later. And what we can learn from the experience with ICANN and other bodies in the ecosystem, such as IETF and so on, and try to think of ways we can apply our experience, the successful democratic experience with multi-stakeholderism, to future evolutions of technologies to enable different stakeholders, different users, different part of the ecosystem to have, if not an equal, at least a sufficient ways that they can participate in the governance process, rather than having the governments of the world taking over, which I believe is not going to be a good way or a healthy way for technology governance to evolve in the future. So I think I will stop here, and I'm sure we will have further discussion and questions coming up later on that would dig deeper into all these things that we have been talking about. So thank you.
Thank you, Charles. You raised some questions. You have some comments on the multi-stakeholderism. I think those are all very good, and I know that you have some good article written at the Circle ID. We're going to come back to that later. But now I'm going to turn this to my two wonderful ladies. First, Gen-Ying Zheng. She's the partner, the lawyer from Lee & Lee. And she's also the representative for GAC at ICANN, and she's also plays many roles. I think she's involving in a lot of the policy makings and the others. And I'm gonna just turn the microphone to you first. And yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Joy, for inviting me to share my thoughts on multi-stakeholder model and AI governance. First of all, I want to say something that is maybe more easily for local audience to understand. I think for ICANN, many of the local people may think that our ICANN is a seminar that will be held 3 times a year, blah, 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 and we should spend some time to participate in such meetings and the seminar. But actually, it is not, because after I actually participated in ICANN as a role of GAC representative, I sense that it is not just a group of meetings. It is actually an organization actually implementing multi-stakeholder model and to make decisions. And I must emphasize that the decision has real-life effect. And if I can determine to make certain changes on domain name registration policy, it will eventually affect our real life. But on the other hand, if you just speak in a seminar, maybe in the seminar there will be certain consensus to certain topic, but it wouldn't change your real life. So I must emphasize that ICANN as a multi-stakeholder model is different from the other type of organizations, at least those I have attended thus far. It has decision body and it has a certain effect, and it is not presented in a way of laws or regulations. It is enforced by nonprofit corporations' board decisions. So I think that's what makes it unique. And each one of us, if we participate in ICANN, when we grab a mic, when we say, speak out our opinions, actually all these accumulated will become public opinions and it will affect real life. So I think that's what makes ICANN unique and what makes this multi-stakeholder model very precious, because I don't see it is exercised in any other part of the world. And of course, for ICANN model, for myself, I think there are some disadvantage. For example, there are so many acronyms. It's very difficult for ordinary people to understand what ICANN is doing. There's a certain level of knowledge you need to possess before you can actually get into the ICANN world. And also the time for making a decision or policy development is also tremendously long, much longer than I can think about. But despite of this disadvantage, I still think the model is very unique, and as long as you actually participate to help the organization to make an actual change, you understand what I'm talking about. And as for whether this same mechanism and the model can apply to some other topic, for example, now we are talking about artificial intelligence. Personally, I'm not very sure whether we can create a similar model that will have real life effect that can change our daily life or make decision for us. I think there are certain fundamental difference between the AI technology and the domain name. For domain name technology, to my understanding, as the keynote speaker, Mr. Steve Quaker said, and share his lifetime experience, you can view that in the domain name industry before its establishment, there are so many engineers contribute their talent and their time to build up the technology and the DNS system. But while in the AI, the technology are controlled and dominated by large corporations with huge funding. So I think that's one of the major fundamental difference. And the second thing is each of the 70 countries are making laws to regulate AI before AI technology even become mature or widely exercised. But for domain name, at least in Taiwan thus far, we don't have a comprehensive domain name statutes under Taiwan law. But while for the AI, each of the countries want to make new laws. So I think that's another factor that make AI is a different subject to implement multi-stakeholder model, because the government apparently will become the largest stakeholder to have real life power to regulate AI. So having said that, there is another model that is similar to AI governance. I believe that would be the corporate governance. Once upon a time, read the sentence saying that the future AI governance will actually lies in the corporate governance of large technology companies, because right now the technology are dominated by all those large tech players, and as long as they exercise good corporate governance, then AI will be under good governance. That's another way to look into it. But still, I think in terms of norms and the practice, and also before each of the country actually enact any actual statute to regulate AI, still they can listen to the voice and the comment from each different interested group. So I think in that perspective, multi-stakeholder model can still work in the way that we can collect opinions from different communities, from different stakeholders, and reach a consensus as to whether and how the government should enact any laws to regulate AI. And before government make any decision, I believe this is a good model for the industry to sort of generate our self-regulated guidance and the industry practice. So that's sort of my observation. Thank you.
Thank you, Guanying. I think that when you are saying some of the comments that you make, I'm very, very much with you, because you mentioned about those are tough decisions that you have to make, and with the different stakeholders, and it's not easy to come to that consensus, because those decisions will impact lives, they will impact business models, And it's a huge impact for everyone when those needs to be made. But when I turn around, I look at Mei Jing, my next speaker. She is the section chief of the Internet Communication Office at the National Communication Commission. Now, this organization making rules for different things and regulations, that impacts at least, not to say within the jurisdiction of Taiwan. And I know that they come to decisions also not easy. And they might use other models to come to those decisions that's going to impact us. So I'm going to turn my microphone to Mei Jing and let her share with us what's her thoughts when she sees a topic like this. Do we always use multi-stakeholderism? Does they have a different practice, a different mechanism to work to the best to the people here in Taiwan? Thank you.
Thank you, Joyce, and distinguished guests and colleagues. And I have some slides, so if it can. Okay, thank you. So good afternoon. I'm Mei Jing Chen from National Communication Commission. It is my great pleasure to share Taiwan's experience in building digital trust through a multi-stakeholder approach. We know that Internet is no longer just a channel for information distribution. It has become a core space for social interaction, public debate, comments, and youth development. For this reason, Internet governance cannot rely on a single agency, for example, like NCC, or a single regulation, or a single perspective. It requires the participation of government, industry, civil society, and users. Today, I will use 2 examples to explain how NCC promotes open, consent-based, and governance through policy coordination, platform self-regulation, and online safety for children and youth. We know that in the past, traditional media were easier to regulate because content production were centralized and geographic boundaries were clear and distribution were relatively slow and controllable. But the modern internet is fundamentally different. Information flow across borders, spread in real time, and depends heavily on algorithm and decentralized user interactions. In other words, online issues often involve different topics, for example, like content moderations, data protection, child safety, criminal enforcement, and human rights at the same time. No single authority can fully manage all these dimensions alone. Effective governance must bring different forms of experts and social expectation into decision-making process. After the amendment of NCC Organization Act in 2022, NCC was officially given responsibility related to Internet communication policy. It means that in the Internet governance space, the NCC is not only a regulator in the traditional sense, but also a coordinator and a bridge. On the one hand, we coordinate among governance ministry to reduce policy overlap and regulatory gaps. On the other hand, we establish channels of dialogues with online platform, industry representatives, civil society, and experts. Our goal is not for the government to decide every answer on its own. Instead, we aim to build governance to decisions that are highly consensual, practical to implement, and able to balance user rights with operational reality. Our work on guidelines about complaints and readiness mechanism and about transparency reports began with real public concern. According to our survey on internet usage behavior, 51.2% of respondents were dissatisfied with platforms' complaint and reticent response, while 65.5% believed that current platform transparency measures were insufficient. These numbers show a clear digital trust deficit. To respond, from April to October last year, the NCC organized 3 rounds of consultations with a total of 17 meetings. Participation came from government agency, platform operators, experts, and civil society organizations. Through those processes, we have jointly developed 2 sets of guidelines, one on complaint and readiness mechanism for internet service users, and the other on the transparency reports for internet service providers. Together, they form a self-regulatory framework for digital platform governance. One of the most representative issues in our consultation was rather platforms should disclose their content moderation standards. Civil society organizations emphasize the need for more specific scenarios and examples so users can better understand platforms' rules and know what may lead content removal or content restrictions. Platform operators, however, express concern that excessive disclosure of internal standards might allow malicious actors to test loopholes, exploit gray area, and spread illegal or harmful content more effectively. The NCC solution was a two-tier approach. For basic tiers, platforms are expected to disclose fundamental rules, such as applicable laws, government requests, and core usage policies. For advanced items, platforms are encouraged to provide illustrative examples, explanation, or case compilation, while retaining operational flexibility. This is the essence of multi-stakeholder governance. It is not about one side winning completely, but about finding a workable path forward. In addition to guidance, the NCC has long been committed to online safety for children and youth. Based on Article 46 of Protection of Children and Youth Welfare and Rights Act, the NCC convened relevant competent authorities to support the establishment of IWIN, that is the Institute of Watch Internet Network. IWIN carried out 7 statutory missions, which you can see on the slide. This mission shows that youth protection is not only a technical issue, it is a long-term public effort that requires cooperation across law, education, industry, family, and civil society. One of IWIN's most important initiatives was the illustrative framework for online content harmful to the physical and psychological health for children and youth. The framework classified harmful content into categories such as pornography, violence, gore, horror, products harmful to children and youth. It then assigned different levels of protection from level 0 to level 4. Level 0 requires no protection, and level 1 may require a warning. We see that level 2 may require blocking or filtering, and 3 requires strict age verification, while the most serious level 4 refers to a legal content that should be absolutely prohibited. The value of this framework is that it translates abstract legal concepts into practical and operational guidance for platforms. It also provides useful reference for competent authority and judicial bodies, reducing uncertainty in real-world decision-making. Multi-stakeholder governance is not a one-time consultation. It is an ongoing loop. In 2025, IWIN held 7 meetings with a total of 136 participations. The topic including major online controversy harmful to minors, revision to the illustrative framework, suggestion to industry self-regulation, and so on. These discussions are tested against real cases and then fed back into the framework, educational materials, and platform self-regulation practice. In other words, governance is not a fixed answer. It is a continuous process of listening, reviewing, adjusting, and improving as online reality evolved. Finally, I would like to use non-consent intimate imagery as a concrete example of multi-stakeholder governance in actions. Those in favor of including it in the IWIN framework argue that NCII is a serious and growing illegal threat. Including it can help platforms strengthen self-regulation and avoid blind spots. Those against inclusion point out that these cases are highly complex in practice, including questions of consent, mismatches between titles and actual contents, and the identification of AI-generated defects. They also notice that NCII is fundamentally a criminal offense and is already handled through a dedicated reporting mechanism. After multi-round of discussion, a consent solution emerged. NCIA would not be placed inside the standard level 0 to level 4 self-regulation tiers. Instead, the relevant legal provision would be permanently displayed as a highlight note at the front of the framework. This reminds platform that NCIA is a strict legal red line, not merely a matter of voluntary self-regulation. This example shows that multi-stakeholder governance does not avoid disagreement. It uses disagreement to build more precise, responsible, and trusted governance arrangement. Thank you.
Thank you, Meijing. Thank you for the updates on what NCC has been doing. So it gives us a very clear picture on some of the things that you have guidelines, you have transparency reports, you have your check and balancing mechanism so that you know and you get your feedback, knowing how you are doing with the platform to working and collaborate with others. And especially, I think your case showing that with iWing, that it's been running a few years. I know that it has a significant result back. So after this round of all our panelists sharing their points of view, I'd like to throw a question to Samari, right? We talked about the spirits of multi-stakeholderism, and I was wondering that what are some of the entry points for the discussion on the impact of AI governance and the multi-stakeholder situations? What do you say? Some good examples, some lesson learned, some of the things that you can share with us.
It's too early to talk about governance of AI, but I'll take a shot at it. So the ICANN ecosystem, the multi-stakeholder ecosystem, has entities that create regulations and groupings that actually comment on the regulations, and it all goes to the board. I won't bore you with a lot of details of all the acronyms because, as you were saying, that in itself will take up a lot of time. But just to give you a quick, for those who are not aware of the ICANN ecosystem, there's the address supporting organization, the country code, number supporting organization, and of course the generic name supporting organization. This is where policies come from. And then at large, the Governmental Advisory Committee, Root Servers, Systems Advisory Committee, and Security and Stability Advisory Committee is where these are also debated. But through this process, there are several entry points into the conversation of AI governance. And at the end of the day, the community has to figure out and decide where they want to take the conversation. All these options are on the table, all these stakeholder community groups are on the table, and it's for the community to bring these challenges into the conversation. But let me, if I may, with your permission, let me kind of shift gears a little bit. And if we were to step back and say that, look, Charles mentioned that the multi-stakeholder model has been successful. And if we need to continue this success and actually build on it, what are we looking at? Because technologies will come and go. I mean, today we are talking about AI, tomorrow we'll be talking about quantum, and who knows what comes after that. And it's really focusing on youth, that bringing youth into the multi-stakeholder model, strengthening the pipeline of policymakers, not only at ICANN. I mean, obviously I'm speaking on behalf of ICANN, but even other technical organizations, which is very important. And just so that, while they are, the youth are, they are recipients of harm, as, we just saw from the iWin presentation, but also it's an opportunity for us to bring them into the conversation early enough. So there are three programs that ICANN, focuses on. The ICANN fellowship program is actually open to anybody, but there's a lot of youth that comes through that fellowship program. And the focus there is to strengthen the participation in the multi-stakeholder model by supporting individuals from underserved and underrepresented communities. Now, the focus of that program is underserved and underrepresented communities. The Next Gen program is more specifically youth focused and aimed at university students and early career individuals who are new to the ICANN and internet governance ecosystem. And of course, I'm not getting into more details about these programs, but the third one I'd like to mention over here, which is very specific to the Asia Pacific region, and I'm looking at one former colleague and a partner in crime over here, which is called the Asia Pacific Internet Governance Academy, or APIGA. And of course, there are partners in crime in the back as well. I'm looking at Maimura-san. So all of us work on bringing Asian youth into this internet governance space. It's robust and it's fragile at the same time. It's robust because we have this pipeline of youngsters in the Asia Pacific region who are keen to engage. We get a lot of interest in these programs, but it's also fragile because they need to really understand that what the responsibility they will inherit when they get into the governance of the internet, whether it's in their region, whether it's globally. So let me end here.
Yes,
Yeah?
thank you very much. I always have the admire when I hear people talking about the next gen. When I say next gen, I mean the common general terms, because I think that nowadays when I see youngsters just turn on the internet or your cell phone and you expect the communication is there. And as Xiaorong mentioned earlier this morning in his opening remark, it's the building blocks. It's the button to the top, it's the top to the button. And how the mechanism works, maybe the youngster needs to know a little bit better to work with it. And I see Jovan is standing on the mic, so I'm gonna have Jovan ask a question, but I do want to save some time for my, at least Charles from the remote. I know that he has something to say about another topic. So let's start with you, Jovan.
Thank you. I'm Jo Fan from TWNIC. I actually have a question about the multi-stakeholder model and the AI governance. So when we say multi-stakeholder model, actually, I think maybe also people have different views on what is that. So we have an ICANN model, maybe IETF model, and then also like a local, country, the multi-stakeholder model as well. So my question is, do you think is ICANN's, multi-stakeholder model is good for AI governance? Because at least, for me, it seems to me that there are the huge difference, between domain name and also IP and the AI. Because domain name, IP and also, the DNS, technology, but were developed, long before we have a multi-stakeholder model. After we have a stable, technology, and then we have, this model and to determine, the policy. But we can see like AI is different because we have, every year we have now it's even like every month we see, new development, from the big companies. So it's possible we still do the multi-stakeholder model, for this kind of like development of, the speed. And the second thing is that, when we're talking about like a domain, DNS, and also IP, it's more like a logical layer, it's more like infrastructure layer, it's more stable. And AI is more, at least now, is more application layer. They have some protocols, but it's mainly application layers. So when we talk about multi-stakeholder, we mainly, talk about like infrastructure. We don't talk about, we have multi-stakeholder, for application, so my question, so for all the panelists and including Charles, I think he has something to say as well. So do you think ICANN's model is good for, or is a reference, for the AI governance? And if you think it is, how you think it can go, and also what is the challenges? And if you don't think it's a good model, what is others models you think is possible? Thank you.
Okay, as Mary suggests, I'm going to ask Charles a question. I think it's very related to what Zhou has been asked, and maybe we can put that together and have our panelists to do a quick response. So Charles, back to you. I know that you wrote good articles at Circle ID, and you mentioned about how AI has been doing a lot of the things, and but it's more of driven by the private corporate domains and geographically. So, but when we're looking at internet or the models, especially when we're talking about stakeholders, it's really like equal voices from the community. How are we going to be able to make the best out of it? Or like when refer to Zhou asking, is this the model? Is there another model? Or what are we suggesting? Because we heard about multi-stakeholderism because it's been running many years. But yet that, like Charles also mentioned, there are questions, there are concerns, and is it a troublemaker? What is it? So maybe Samara, you can give a quick response, or and I'm sorry, I think that you asked me to having Charles. Charles, do you want to respond on that first, and then we can come back to the floor?
I just needed a little time to think of an answer. So I have an answer, but I'll let Charles go first.
Wonderful. Charles, it's you.
I can try quickly, because
Great.
It's very similar to the original question that you asked me. I think the reason why I wrote that article was because when people were talking about AI governance these days, number one, many of them started to think about the reference to internet governance and what we can do with, let's say, including the ICANN multi-stakeholder model, whether or not that is applicable. That's the first question that some people will ask. And the second question that many people will ask is also like, which was what I tried to address in my earlier comment about what is governance after all, because we may be talking about something that is similar when we talk about internet governance or AI governance, or maybe we are talking about something very different. So I think anytime we think about the internet governance model, particularly including the ICANN and including the ICANN ecosystem of governance model, we have to think about the historical context. What happened about 30 years ago when it all started, right? Because we were at a very fortunate point in time at that time that the one government actually was willing to give up control of the technology and the administration of the and the operation of the controlling infrastructure to a multi-stakeholder non-profit organization. Think about that. Is something like that easy to be imagined to happen today? So I always like to say that we were at that time, at the right place, with the right people or with the right constituents to make it happen at the time with the formation of ICANN and many of the other organizations in the ecosystem. Now, today, the situation is very different. Governments see AI as a strategic development goal. It is not just, well, of course, also security, national security, and so on, but it's also a competitive goal for countries to try to get ahead, to try to get into leadership position. And not to mention, technology companies are already very big. 30 years ago, all these big tech that we talk about today, they were not big tech at the time. The technology was before the companies at the time, but today the companies are already leading the direction of the development of the technology in a much bigger sense, in a much bigger way than when we think about 30 years ago when internet governance started. So I actually very much like Mei Cheng, your answer or your comments about what NCC has been doing. I think what we are trying to say today is that if we try to think about the ICANN experience and the internet governance experience and apply that to artificial intelligence, maybe we have to think about it as a continuum of multi-stakeholderism. It's not an absolute multi-stakeholderism model such as, strictly just the ICANN model. It could be something slightly different or quite different, but hopefully giving user more control, empower users more, and empower all the different stakeholders more, and environments that anybody can participate rather than just for government to do everything top down. And also to think about it like if you're going to impose regulations on technology, including AI, can we do it in such a way that it is regulation with a multi-stakeholder characteristic, so that we can continue to try to explore ways to enable not just consultation, not just feedback, but actually empowering the different communities, especially like Samron has been talking about the underprivileged or underrepresented communities. Make sure that they have a voice to be heard in the whole formulation of governance or the regulations formulation process. And I think that is what we're looking at, rather than a complete transplant of the internet governance or even in the ICANN context type of model into something new like AI regulations. I think that probably wouldn't be practical in today's environment.
Thank you, Charles. In the interest of time, I just want to mention that there's two key words I hear from you. It's empowerment, it's enabling. And I think when I read your article, one of the things that keep in my mind is that you mentioned about, I think you use a wonderful word, that's alignment. It's not one or the other. It's not the combination of the two. It's really that how does the AI governance can be aligned with the multi-stakeholderism. I know that we are running out of time, and then I see 3 people are in line. I'm sure that they are. I'm going to give Samari a very short time for having him answer quickly. Can you?
I'll take 30 seconds to answer Joanne's question.
Wonderful.
And thank you, Charles, for giving me a little time to collect my thoughts. I already said a little while ago that the DNS does not generate content.
Right.
And a lot of the harms that we are talking about governing created by AI is content related. So we need to be very clear-eyed about what part of this ecosystem is getting governed at ICANN. And therefore, and as a reference, I would say, I'll leave it at that at the Business Plus 20 review, AI governance was one of the biggest issue, and that was all about, at a content layer. So let me just stop here.
Okay, let's stop with Mary's comments here, and I also want to give my 2 other panelists, Gen-Ying and Mei Jing. Can you say a conclusion for 1 minute and the last? And with all your permission, would you like to hear the 3 questions from the floor? Because I see very good internet contributors here, and I'm sure that we'll at least wants to hear their questions. So let's do that 1 minute for each, and then we're going to go to Guowei first, but please make sure that your comment or question is not going to be too long for everyone, okay? So Gen-Ying first, and yes, I'm going to start with him because he started first.
Okay, I will be quick. I totally echo Charles' comment. I think ICANN is unique. It has the opportunity to evolve in the way it is right now, and I don't see any other technology can be regulated in exactly the same way as ICANN is regulating domain name. But the framework is, we can reference ICANN's framework to try to regulate the other type of technologies.
Wonderful.
Although it wouldn't be quite the same in terms of implementation or policy or
Good enough.
effect. Yes.
Great. Mei-Jing, your turn, 1 minute.
Okay, we understand that multi-stakeholders need participation from different perspectives. In the AI area, as the platform, great control more. So it's more even crucial to ensure the participation from the industry. And I'm very happy that today there are many organizations co-organize this event today. So we know that the internet needs both the like infrastructure layer, like Ruofan say, and also the application layer. So that's why NCC today hosts this event with everyone. And we hope to have more collaboration in the future and work together. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you for your closing remarks. So this is what we're going to be doing. I know that you'll have questions. I hope that we have longer, but this is the last session for the day. So Guowei, I'm going to allow you to have 1 minute to ask, and Edmund and Trey Tongxue. And then we're going to do the closing. So we're not going to respond for the questions, but we can respond after we formally close this.
I will just tell you as soon as short as possible.
Thank you.
I just put in a question to the Anthropic in the crowd, say, does a multi-stakeholder mechanism workable for AI? And first of all, he described what is a multi-stakeholder, just the same as we are discussing. Then the first answer he answered is the argument for it working in AI is that no single actor has a full knowledgeable to doing that. And then AI is a transnational. And I don't go too long. The next one, argument against or serious challenge. That means the AI doesn't agree the multi-stakeholder is workable. And then the following, the last one is a historical reason to tell you how the internet governance is fair. He talking about ICANN, he talking about IGF, you all fair. So the final, he end up say, well, the multi-stakeholder, we still need to do more modify.
Let's evolve as we are getting mature. And
This is the AI answer.
okay, wonderful. Edmund, please.
Yeah, I guess it's typical. The one being governed resists. But I want to add to what Simon said. I mean, the question is not whether. I think the question is not whether the multi-stakeholder model should be used for AI governance. It's how, right? Because in the WSIS plus 20 document, it's already said the governments around the world has already committed to start the AI governance dialogue with the multi-stakeholder model, including governments and other stakeholders. So it's not a if, it's not a whether, it's how we make it work.
How? Okay, great. Trey Tongxue, 请.
Yes, hello, I'm Peter Cui from TWNIC Academy.
1 minute, please.
Yes. So I also want to echo to all the questions raised above is about how we can achieve a multi-stakeholderism in the new age of internet and also AI. But I also question surrounding me is that how should we see the actors in the multi-stakeholderism? Because if we only see the system itself, we usually lacking the visions to really see the people inside these mechanisms and how these people being influenced by the mechanisms. And that is also the lessons when I was learning the democratic deliberations in 2024. And one senior practitioners of deliberative democracies told me that, well, when everybody's in the room, I think the main issue is not about the issues that you want to discuss. It's not about the tool or the systems you need to do, but it's about the people that in the room you need to serve as a first priority. So I think that is the question. How can we see the players? How can we see every roles? How can we see every actors in multi-stakeholderism? Yeah.
Thank you, Peter, and thank you very much for my wonderful audience to stay through the day, stay through this very last session. This is a very exciting, very interesting session, and I'm sorry that I have 6 minutes overrun, but I think that it's worth a while to stay for the day, right? So I'm just very glad that being the moderator and having all my wonderful panelists to be here having this discussion. So thank you very much. I now that adjourn this meeting. Thank you.
Thank you very much for this very lively panel. May I invite all panelists and the moderator for a group photo together.
Thank you.
And for Mr. Mok, please simply look into your camera with a great smile on my count, and we will have a hybrid group photo here on site. All right. 我们最后请所有的语坛讲者跟主持人来合影一张。All right. 3, 2, 1, a big smile. One more photo. And thumbs up for the group photo. Wonderful. One more. Thank you very much. 我们再次掌声，谢谢这个场次的语坛讲者还有主持人。